Sometimes in life you're faced with a situation that turns your entire vision of the world upside down and makes you look at things in a completely different light. After such a thing happens to you, there is no going back. Your life has changed forever. And one of the most striking cases of such a situation in my life was when I had been diagnosed with cancer. And today I would like to share with you some of the things that had changed in my life and in my mind after I had gone through that stage of my life. Hello everyone. This video is going to be very hard for me to film. I can already sense it. But now I feel like I'm finally in a state of mind that permits me to talk about this topic without feeling completely and overwhelmingly uncomfortable. I am now finally feeling psychologically recovered enough to speak about this without feeling triggered and without those old memories resurfacing again in my memory and therefore making me feel very bad. Well, now I must tell you that in this video I am not going to tell you the entire story of how I got diagnosed, how I went through that stage of my life. Instead, I want to share with you some of the outtakes, some of the most important lessons that I've learned thanks to that unfortunate experience. I want to summarize those months of my life of pain, of healing, of recovery into some statements, some conclusions that I came up with, because I think that it might be important to hear some of those things that I'm about to say for both those people who are now going through some sort of a similar thing or that same illness, and also to those who luckily haven't been faced with such a dreadful challenge. However, if you would like me to also film a long storytelling kind of video where I would just tell you the entire process of how I got diagnosed, how I went through healing, how chemo went, all of that in all its raw details and unpleasantness, then please tell me about that in the comment section below. With all that being said, let's move on to the most important part of this video. I think I'll hit hard from the very beginning, because this first thing is quite complex and difficult to explain, but I will try my best. The thing is, we give such importance to some things that we get lost on our own path, and we tend to forget about what's really important to us, to everyone personally. But while I was a few steps away from death, many things started to lose their mask of importance. They kind of started to fall apart, and I could finally see their real faces and their real meaning. And from that experience, I understood that nothing is important in this life apart from this present moment and how you decide to live it. And the best way of living, I figured out, is to do so in a state of love, of appreciation and giving, of being the one who gives and the one who shares, being the one who receives from the universe and shares with the ones around, being in that game but not with the purpose of winning or losing, because someday, no matter how great you become, it will not have any importance any longer. Your money will become worthless. What you've learned and created will probably be forever lost or just forgotten or unnecessary. The mark that you've left on this earth will vanish, but I believe that your soul will live forever. But most importantly, you'll have to live with yourself your entire life, no matter how much time you're given. And the best thing that you can do to really enrich this life of yours is putting yourself out there and being there for other people, being open to a kind of love that comes from the soul, finding people that you feel connected to on a level that can't be explained by the mind, but you just feel how lucky you are to have met those people. And really, I think life should be a process of enjoyment and experiencing of pure, unfiltered emotions, unconditioned by societal norms or learned behaviorism. And it should be a process of finding your truth, not bending under the pressure of prejudice and expectations. And most importantly, while you're still alive, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to open yourself up and try to notice those tiny little signs that the universe is filled with, and follow those signs, because only this way you can truly feel alive. I believe that we as a society have a huge problem because so many people are living but they don't feel alive at all. And in many ways it happens because instead of pursuing our real dreams and going through everything wholeheartedly, we tend to give excessive importance to things that are not important at all. That also means that we tend to think that something is too difficult, so we stop ourselves from starting to do it because we think of the huge picture, of the huge mountain that we need to climb, instead of focusing on the very tiny little steps. And this is where procrastination comes from. It is basically, a fear of not being able to handle that big problem. So instead of embarking on that journey, you just simply don't do that. You don't make the first step just because you think that you will not be able to handle the entire journey. And that also comes with the overwhelming things and thoughts like, what will other people think? But once you realize that you've been putting off your entire life and everything you've ever wanted to do, you lose that fear. You just realize that what other people think is unimportant. And suddenly, you know that this life is about to end. You regret deeply giving so much thought to all of it, and you also regret not doing a thing about it. And you regret thinking that it's all too difficult, that you can't do it, and you regret thinking that everything needs to have a satisfying result. Let me remind you of something. In life, the only end result is death, and it will come for everyone. What matters is how you live the process. And to make that process much more enjoyable, much more bearable, and much more interesting and fascinating, let go of that importance. Again, this one's very much related to what I've already said. We kind of bend under non-existent pressure and we forget to think for ourselves. I actually think that most of us have lost the ability to think whatsoever. But I encourage you to always take a moment to take a step back and look at yourself from the outside and separate from yourself the outer world, from all the different opinions and decisions that have been pre-made for you. And ask yourself, is that real? Or is it just a product of collective madness? Or is it just a product of me looking through my own prism? And where does that come from? What do I feel about it? You can ask yourself all sorts of questions. It's a very awakening process, a very powerful one. But one of the main purposes of doing all that is to purify your true identity from those things that no longer serve you, that haven't ever served you, that have just been sitting there in your head, occupying space, closing you up from being your true, authentic, ever-evolving self. Because that's stagnation. And in stagnation, there can't be life. Because life is ever-changing and it is in constant motion. Shedding all of those false rinds from yourself is very liberating. So when I had cancer, I had a lot of time to just think about my entire identity, about my entire life, And I've started to see some patterns and some connections. And in that big picture, I realized how much of my personality was based on fallacies and things that were definitely not a part of my true core. They could be whatever, from how other people wanted to see me to the pressure and expectations that I put myself under. And once you realize how much of that excessive weight you have on your shoulders, you will automatically start to throw away all that garbage from your mind, from your system, from your matrix. And that's when you'll start feeling unusually free and fearless. Through the history of mankind, we've always tried to escape from pain. It is a normal reaction. Fear is a very useful and normal thing. But now the fears that we have and the pain that we so desperately try to avoid no longer have the same meaning. Now we fear the future and feel pain remembering the past, when the whole purpose of fear and pain initially is to escape death in the now, in the present moment. What I'm trying to say is that trying to avoid pain in life is useless. We all have to go through some difficult stages of life and some painful things, and we can't escape it. A life without painful experiences and difficulties would be a waste of time for your soul. It would also make your life horribly boring. Pain is inevitable. Instead of avoiding it, what you can do, and the only thing that you can do, is accept it, let it go through you, and while it does so, try to understand what is it trying to teach you. What is the lesson of that painful situation? And also remember that only by going through those difficult phases, through that pain, loss, grief, you will learn to find solutions and ways to step out of that. You will learn to be your own best friend and the best support that you could ever get. You just need to learn to feel and see the liveness of this world, the beauty in it, in the simple things that you observe every day, because actually you always have two ways of going through things. The first one is from a place of calmness, from a place of acceptance and gratitude, or rather life will have to put you through hell for you to learn. It will put you through some situations that will make you break from all the pain and all the weight. And only then, only when you'll be completely broken, completely devastated, you will finally learn to see what you've always been meant to see naturally. So just remember one thing: being alive and being involved in the happenings of life is enough. So that was it, my fair ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you've actually heard what I've had to say, and I hope that you won't waste a single more day of your life being someone that you are not. I hope we'll meet again very, very soon, and goodbye.